I was originally concerned about taking down all these beds that the soil that we've spent so much time building would be a loss. And I'm going to share with you two key factors here and a mistake that I've made when it comes to soil building. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. So you can see the soil is a little bit drier now that it's been in the sun and all spread out. But I built this soil over a 3-year period, and it is high quality, nutritious soil. Now all the plants and bulbs have been dug out, and I had this concern that I need to take this soil with me. Again, I put the investment into it, I built the time and effort, and it's quality soil that is perfect for a garden or for a flower bed or for anything else that you might do. And again, I didn't want to lose it. Now, when I moved from Williamsburg to here, I actually took a lot of soil with me because the soil is highly biologically nutritious, meaning the soil is biologically active, and I feared that I wouldn't be able to build that soil again, or that it would take an unnecessary long period of time. But I've discovered and learned ways, I didn't discover them, I actually just educated myself, ways to build soil quickly and effectively using biomass and composting, that I actually am only going to take a sample of the soil with me. You can see some of the biochar that's in the material here. I'm only going to take a sample of the soil with me, and I'm actually going to leave this legacy of soil here to actually get turned into grass. Now I'm selling the house and moving to a farm property, and you know, this life changes, this kind of thing happens, but ultimately I'm taking the bulbs and I'm taking the plant stock, especially these ferns and things, and I'm going to leave behind what's super easy for people to maintain. Now, if you've gotten a copy of my program on year-round green grass, and you can see how nice this grass is and how firm and thick it is, I'm going to actually replicate that same thing here for this new bed, and quality soil is necessary. Now, there underneath of this, there's actually a brick walkway, and we're going to actually put seed down and some straw. Now, depending on what the real estate agent says, it might actually get sod, but the key is this area went from overgrowth to grass, and if that grass grows as rapidly as the ferns and the other plants did that were here in these beds, ferns, flowers, and such, then this will be a wonderful extension to the lawn for the next family. Now, the next family may not have the interest that I have with sustainable agriculture and you know, habitat for beneficial insects and a zero input lawn, but I want to give them the best to start with. So what's the key factors when it comes to building high quality, high value soil? Number one is you start small. It took years to build this area up, and I didn't put a lot of effort into it. It was mainly chop and drop, but you start small. You're not going to grow quality soil on acres. It takes hundreds of years to produce an inch of soil in a forest. You're not going to do it in acres, but you can certainly do it in small beds or raised beds. Now, as I'm looking here, I'm seeing things that I need to take care of. There's a lot of little bulbs in here. There's a lot of different plants. You know, these are different bulbs. But the best place to start your soil is in the nursery beds for your plant stock. You can see a lot of the plants were torn out. All those plants are going to a property where that material will be composted. A lot of the plants that can be replanted will be salvaged, but ultimately, by starting small, you can get your practice in place. Now, what kind of practice do you put in to build good quality soil? First off, you want to make sure the soil is of a diverse set of organic materials. So you're going to use your household waste into compost. You're going to use grass clippings, leaves, everything you can find. Mix it in that compost pile. You can use human manure. But the key is that you're building up sections at a time. So the raised beds will have the quality soil, but the paths may not. Now, why do we do this? Again, because we're using biomass grown in place. We want the soil biology where the plants are growing to be the strongest biology for those plants. So your cover crops, if you have just strips of cover crop, that's better than having a whole field of cover crop if you're not going to be able to maintain it. Now, the maintenance of chop and drop simplifies some of the process, but you want to be adding beneficial microorganisms. Now we do that through a biodigester, which breaks down all kinds of different things, meats, it breaks down household vegetable waste, it breaks down manures, and it creates an effluent, which is a liquid fertilizer that's full of anaerobic bacteria that when it gets put on the soil interacts with the aerobic bacteria, and basically there's a battle in your soil where the aerobic bacteria benefits and starts building up that soil. Now if you're going to inoculate your soil, you can also do that with biochar, which is charcoal that's been soaked in the effluent, or some kind of you know, you can mix it with manures, you can mix it with different things to get those digestive enzymes, the acidophilus and all the different types of enzymes. See, there's more bulbs here, into the soil itself. Now, why do we do that? Again, these are digestive enzymes, and they will digest the old plant materials. So when you're layering in chop and drop, when you're layering in wood, untreated wood or wood chips for your paths, it will help break down those materials. Now, you also need fungi and different types of material like that. So some of these beds actually had spent mushroom casings put in. Now, again, I didn't go out and buy compost. You can speed the process up by buying in compost, but you don't have to. So I was able to build this beautiful, nutritious soil. We're going to send some of it away to a lab to see how it looks. Right now, the focus is just cleaning the mess up. So we took down all the old rotten raised beds. I'm actually not going to do treated wood raised beds anymore, or prefabricated raised beds. I'm just going to do raised beds on soil mounds like we did over in the garden there. And again, you can see that garden's idle, and it just overcomes with grass as soon as you let it go idle, because we're going to move all that stuff. Now, when I talk about moving materials, what are we going to move? Well, again, I'm moving soil that is going to be a sample soil. I'm not sure why there's mold growing in that one. That might be fertilizer. We use a we use a dried pork blood to keep the deer off of stuff. Deer are horrible here. So we've got soil that we're going to use to inoculate both compost piles and mounds of soil at the new property, and we're going to extend that biology by doing the other things that I described. Now, this is a slow process. If it takes 100 years to build an inch of soil, and I'm building 6 or 7 inches of soil in 3 years, it's not something that's ever going to happen overnight. And even if you buy in soil, does it have the right pH for the plants you want to grow? Does it have the right microorganisms for the health and the nutrient exchange that's in the soil? You'll know when the plants grow out of control. So within a year, plants can grow in this area right here, 8 feet tall, and that was getting to be a kind of a headache. But again, they're going to lay this out. They're going to put grass in it because I need to take care of the next person who's going to own this house, rather than my own desires and wants for the particular space. I'm actually moving to a place where we can do it's basically agricultural work, and so all these plants were removed. Now you can see some of the clay soil that's under these plants that have never been cycled out. So underneath these plants, it's very clay. You can tell that by the color of the soil. But over in these beds that we built up, it's very humus, and it's got a richer profile to it. And so again, clay next to the house, and then anywhere that we've cultivated plants, we have a more nutrient profile. Now I'm going to come in this weekend and I'll get out all these bulbs and things because we're going to transplant those someplace. And you'll notice that a lot of the plant pots actually had leaf mold or compost in it. You can start with just this leaf mold to start feeding the soil. Again, we're feeding the soil with the organic matter that's normally considered trash. So we're feeding that soil. We're chopping and dropping. We're building up layers of material. We might use long cut grass. We're nurturing out bulb plants. You can see all these little bulb flowers. We're cultivating cuttings and other plants, and we're building that abundance in the soil itself. It will basically, when the water comes, the microbes and the biology will continue to spread, and you're going to end up with great, beautiful organic soil. And now you only need a few inches of it in order for you to have the plant growth. But once you have the soil start produce, you're going to have more earthworms come up, and those earthworms are going to start bringing soil from underground to the surface and surface soil down, and then you're going to get that mix. I don't know, I'm pretty passionate about soil health, and if you have questions about your soil health, we're in Virginia where we have a lot of clay soil. We are able to turn that clay into arable space, meaning we can plant and grow crops in that space in about 6 months. After that 6 months, then you start building it even more, and you start getting the depth of the soil, and you can see how it packs down pretty readily when you step on it. So that's why we do raised beds, no-till raised beds with paths. Oh my gosh, I got all these bulbs out here. I have to get out here with a hard rake and get these bulbs up because they're beautiful flowers. But again, you can see the biochar in here, and if we get down really close, you can see where the worms have turned up the soil. So we have a wonderful soil profile, and you know, if we did the squeeze test, I'll get my hands dirty for you guys. If you do the squeeze test, it kind of stays together. That means the soil's got enough carbon material in it that it, I guess it's the Keck. There's basically a couple measures of the stickiness of a soil, and those measures have to do with how much organic material is, microscopic organic material is in the soil itself, and that impacts its compactability, its overall health, its ability for the nutrients to be exchanged with the plants themselves through the microbial activity of the plants. Now, I'm not going to get into, I'm still a novice, I'm not going to get into it, but ultimately, wrapping up here, your investment in soil is worth fortunes. This soil here will grow wonderful, grass will kick off really quick, but again, I'm moving to a place, oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this. I saw this worm from all the way, look at that guy. I saw this worm from all the way on the other side because it's going crazy. It is just going crazy. Came up out of the ground there. Anyway, your investment in soil, maybe it was pointing out this. Your investment in soil is an investment in your health. Good quality soil can be made. It takes a little while, but once it's made, you must be a good steward of it. I'm leaving behind some of this soil instead of hauling it like I did the last time in Williamsburg. That soil was over on that other side, and in a couple of garden beds. But ultimately, this is new soil in the last 3 years, and it's created through the process of biology, not simply just composting. There are cycles and seasonal changes, and there are adaptations, but I did not put supplements in here. These beds were primarily nursery beds, so I didn't put minerals or fertilizer or anything. I simply allowed natural processes to cultivate, create, and develop soil. It's not perfect. I just noticed there's a little bit of plastic right here, which is common in a urban environment, but is an abundance of bulbs and an abundance of just life. I want to thank you for watching. I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. If you've got questions about creating quality, biologically active soil, put your comments down below. I think this is something that people really don't understand. They very often just buy in materials to dump in their garden bed and then wonder why it doesn't do anything. And that's because there's a whole bunch of, there's a soil biology, there's a soil food web that needs to be in place for that abundant growth, for that nutrient dense, rich vegetables. And there's different types of soil, forest soils and regular outdoor soils. But anyway, I'm gonna take these plants this weekend and get them planted out. They have some of the microbes in the soil there. I'm gonna get the bulbs raked out of here and out of the other side there, and we will show you from scratch in a future video how we can turn Virginia clay into rich, nutrient-dense soil. And technically this should all be covered up with straw rather than exposed, but again, I hired a landscaper to do the work because my eye is environmentally oriented, his eye is commercially oriented. I'm letting his eye dominate because we'd like to sell the house for maximum price with minimum inputs. Anyway, like and subscribe. I'm looking forward to your comments. Soil is the future.